Weezer's Van Weezer. I'll be honest, you should have just released this last year. Given okay what we got from you, your level of some sense of maturity out of OK Human. I mean, this makes sense. The 80s cheese, that wasn't going to be the problem. You doing the shreddy stuff, that was never going to be a problem. Like what just happened like this snippet of the first taste we had of this thing even being a thing in 2019. To think it was that long ago, 2019. Though I also remember that they didn't have that none of their records they released that year were any good. And if it was a covers album. That ain't really saying anything now, is it? But here we are, finally getting this thing. I mean, you know my thoughts on OK Human. I like it. I haven't exactly gone back to it enough, but that's because I wanted to be more fresh towards this thing, because it's more in my taste. And this was their essentially making an 80s tribute to hard rock, arena rock, to the 80s metal, hard rock, and arena rock of the late 70s, early 80s period, in which event, and dare I say, somehow they pull off something for Weezer that I didn't expect them to, even though they may as well have ripped off Slayer on that one. But we'll get to that. The tracks that I'm thinking of here, the thing is, I wish The End of Game was the track they started this album off with. I really think they should have done that instead. I could see a certain someone named doing a redacted of this album, because I feel like it probably might need it, if it's ever even redactable at all. If there's any leftover pieces of this album flying around somewhere. Heck, some people will probably say, hey, why don't we do because I do like the Let's Tell You mix. I'm not sure about the fade out. I'm fine with the way it ended. I feel like they could have done the one more solo thing like they were kind of doing. Instead of fading out from it, continue to do it one more time, and then try to kind of mix in the way they kind of tried to end it normal, like what you normally expect from Weezer. Plus the Sirens thing on some of these tracks here. You know, just all the good ones wasn't bad. Heroes OK was an okay choice, but I didn't think it was a great follow-up single. It doesn't do too bad in opening up this album, but I do feel like they could have switched that with The End of Game. And I need some of that. Is just, the chorus is so hooky and it's still stuck in my head. That's one of their better, catchier fucking choruses, at least. Even if the song itself is whatever. I mean, it works for what it is, though I understand that people who have complaints about the fact they haven't really matured, this track doesn't do them any good. That's why I think a lot of people wish they would have had this album, just released this album before they ever released OK Human. And from some lyrical perspective, it would have seemed they matured. And sonically, they matured in such a way that, you know, they finally did something different from what you expect of Weezer, and it actually stuck. That's why a lot more people are more nicer about OK Human, or loving OK Human, and why they're not liking this thing as much, even though sonically they want to love it. I just wish they could lyrically love it, like myself here. And I like this, and you know what? I'm willing to at least say, despite the fact that, yeah, they kind of did a little better about this on not only Ubate, but also even Maladroit. And even maybe to the extent of Green Album. So it's technically early 2000s Weezer and mid 2000s to 2010s Weezer. It's still better than what we've been getting from this year's Weezer, but it's still better than what we wound up in 2019 and 2018. Just that late 2010s period. So as long as this album was better than that, yet alone even better than the Dark Ages, which I can understand some people being debatable and saying that even when it comes to even the Red Album or maybe possibly Hurley, but which I still think are the better end of that spectrum, even though some people would somehow defend Make Believe. Meh. But I like this album, and the front half is solid still. I'm still enjoying myself. I'm feeling what they're giving me of basically, the Van Halen thing, yes. I don't think it's fully that so much as it's more them in their most Weezer way. While also, I'd say more attributing to one of the best producers that has ever done anything for Weezer, and former Cars From and Rick Ocasek, rest in peace. And then Van Halen's death, they decided to do that for him, but it's like you kind of set a bar too high with that one. Though you should have at least led with Rick Ocasek in your conversation of that. Well, so it would have totally made absolute sense to any Weezer fan out there ever, at least. And by adding that in the conversation, that makes this album more sense, especially within the front half. And then Blue Dream happens, which apparently they played that on The Simpsons. And most people thought they were going to just do a cover of probably a less than stellar Weezer attempt at a cover of... Because that's what it comes off to me as. They're essentially just straight up ripping off Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. Weezer style, essentially. And it's like, what? Like, you're going to confuse so many people who haven't heard this track on the album and have not bothered to listen to a Weezer album ever. Like, that's a bit of an issue. But, I mean, the way they at least end the track is nice. And I'm though not so surprising, since technically Van Halen did kind of do some Slayer before Slayer on a certain track that I can't think of the name of. That is on Women and Children verse, plus they did some other stuff. So it's like it's not too far off for Weezer to do this anyway, especially given the Black Sabbath influence as well. But they kind of ripped off Slayer a little too much, and it just makes them doing this track with one more hit, which also lyrically comes off a bit beneath coming from someone who tried to be above being normal act, but then again, even during the 2010s period, had to reach back to that time frame and give us the song Do You Want to Get High onto White Album, which is still, of the two singles to start with, was the better of the two, even though I understand it not being feeling like it might be misplaced on said White Album, but I still like it. Get over Thank God for Girls, or at least how that came about. But anyways, I mean, its intentions were trying to be good, but it just kind of doesn't come across that way in the most Ratitude way, so it's like, with that one. But anyways, as far as this album is concerned, it seems like 2021 is, well, for the most part, going to be kinder up until this point. But I feel like these songs will go off fine live for them, I guess. Chances are. But Sheila Can Do It is what so, I guess. I'm fine with She Needs Me. That one kind of goes off pretty good for what it is. And I'm fine with Precious Metal Girl, even though they were attempting to do Butterfly or Fly off of, whatchamacallit, right? With Pinkerton, I mean. But I don't think it comes off as well as Butterfly. So, but it's fine for what they're doing for this thematically, I guess, on this record. It can fall, I mean, they try with it, and it's not bad. But they try their best to recover, but I can understand it falling flat for some people. But overall, I'd say Fan Weezer at the very least. It's enjoyable enough to get a thumbs up. It's one of those, it's like, enough to me to get a thumbs up despite its lyricism. I do feel like it's of the better Weezer albums we've been getting, it is going to unfortunately be on the lesser end of that better half. But, or at least that seems to be the 2020 albums of Weezer, or 2021 albums of Weezer seeming to be on that spectrum. So it would seem, but overall, I'm hopeful that, I'm hopeful, and I think the band can find a way to somehow, some way, do what they've been doing here, and doing sonically what they do here, and what they've done with the more Baroque pop stuff they've been doing with OK Human, and they could they could pull a Death Cab for Cutie for all I know, or at least find a perfect balance between that more Baruch Poppy side of Death Cab for Cutie and what we wanted to get out of Death Cab for Cutie, and make an even better Death Cab for Cutie album than what we've been getting from Death Cab for Cutie. Yeah, I don't know. They could pull it off. I'm just saying. They're one of those bands that could do it. They really could. Like, I feel like they can find this perfect balance between that shreddy shred and then this Baruch pop stuff, and find a balance of that and the orchestral stuff. It'd be fucking amazing. I think they could do it. And, hopefully if they had some good songwriting on top of it, too, or at least have the kind of songwriting that they were able to try to bring about with OK Human, and I think maybe they may make a good record. I think an even crazier thing would be if somehow, some way, What's-His-Face comes back to the band and proves how that he was the missing component. He was the component of the 90s Weezer that made 90s Weezer as great as it has been, and why we still talk about 90s Weezer as much as we still do, despite some people somehow still willing to defend Pinkerton over Blue Album, despite the fact that lyrically up to a point, Pinkerton may not gauge as well because of woke culture. But, or at least I'm hoping it doesn't take it out of the number 2 conversation of it. The top 2 conversation that it always has had. Because it is that damn good of a record. It's that good of a record, but the problem is it needed to be the grower that it is, and then all this other stuff. That's my feelings on, I guess, Weezer in general, but mostly my feelings on the Van Weezer record as well, which I liked it. I felt like they did as fine a tribute as they could, and embraced the cheese of the 80s, given their needs as much as they could. And what could be the worst on any other band, but because of how Weezer can deal with cheese and make it better, and they do it so well musically here, more so on the front half, and if not for certain, trying to show that they've run out of ideas with what they did on Blue Dream, which is unfortunate, but I don't think that this should be the end of Weezer. I feel like maybe if they could, like I said, if there's a way they could combine what they've been doing here with these 2 albums and make them work, and make it work, to where some moments you could have this, and then moments you could have these Baruch-y elements. Hell, you could find a way to have these string arrangements come in places with this style of music and make it work. If Ultrabridge could do it, even though their music isn't cheesy in comparison, but this can work. They can make it work. They could make it work and find a balance. And hopefully make that be their send-off. If you know what I mean? I think they can do it. I really do. I think they can balance the Baruch pop with their classic power pop style, and make and if they have the songwriting is finally there, they can make a damn great Weezer album, or at least in the sense of being within the mid-2010s Weezer conversation, maybe early 2000s conversation, more so or less, hopefully. And they can hopefully give us a good send-off, which eBay should have been, but, or at least White Album, and I think we'd have all been happier, But I feel like even if they do now, these aren't bad enough albums to be a bad send-off. By no means. So, again, thumbs up, Weezer, I'd like to give you a rockin', but, you had some stumbles here on this record that I feel that you're better than this. You should be, but, you're at least showing you're better than what you were between these past 2 records between this and OK Human, that you're better than that you have been better than that. So, it's enough to say I can give it a pass. I'm not willing to say it's great Weezer. It's at least good, solid to good Weezer, at the very least. So, good Weezer at the most, solid Weezer at the very least, or at least meh Weezer at the least, possibly. Some people can say okay to decent. I understand them up to a point, but not enough to say that if you're going to willingly give a higher score to any of the worst of the Dark Ages stuff, and then this, I'm just saying. Overall, we're on a better path, for the most, musically at least, that I can deal with. I can still feel to come back to it, maybe not as much as some of the other ones, like I've said, but I would definitely at least come back to this more than what we've been getting from the 2018 to 2019 period of Weezer, and what we wound up getting from that weird spot from 2007 up until 2010. Or 2008 up until 2010. Well, or at least the 2005 up until 2010. It was like that weird, that dark 5-year period. But they did better. I'm happier. I don't have to worry about my whole ex thing anymore. Because Weezer's put me in a better place now. And I can be happy with that, at the very least. That's why they deserve the thumbs up, in my opinion. Even if you think my opinion stinks when it comes to that, and you want to consider this on the lower end for some strange reason. But anyways, what did you guys think of Van Weezer? Leave a comment below, let me know. Rock that like button with the rest if you must if you like this video. As always, and also, hit the subscribe button. Please click the notification bell. Click all, please, if you want to see all my stuff. More of me. Also, link in description below to Facebook's pages. Might still be a GoFundMe page for Stats. Then the whole Smash Cancer thing. If it's not there, then okay, I guess I need to get rid of it at some point once he's officially cured all this other stuff. And I still need to find the Smash Cancer shirt. Hopefully I can still get that before it's too late. But anyways, or find it before it's too late. I don't know. But anyways, other than that, also like and follow me on my Facebook page. Also, I should have the dungeon page there too. Also, links to possibly my Twitch. I don't think I have a URL so much, but if you'll see me around Twitch with my handles for Twitch and for stereo. You can see me around there then. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I will see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.